welcome to the Thank You for Knitting YouTube channel. My name is Alana and I'm a yarn shop owner and knitwear designer living in Auckland, New Zealand. So today is another regular podcast episode. It is episode number 16 and I think it'll be a little bit of a shorter one. I feel like I don't have a ton to show. I guess I have 3 finished objects, or maybe 4. Okay, I think I have 4. And then a little bit of update on whips. I have an impulsive cast on. And I also want to talk about a new pattern that I just released today. So here we go. Oh yes, first things first, what I am wearing. So it might look a little bit boring on camera, but this is one of my favorite things I've ever knit. I think of it as a hand knit sweatshirt because it is just comfortable, cozy. It's the perfect shape, it's the perfect fit, it's black, so it matches everything, it's easy. It's probably one of my absolutely most worn knits. I can just throw it on anytime. But the basic details are, it's the Lala Sweater and the pattern is by Nadine Hirschi. I'll put a picture on the screen. I've made 2 Lala sweaters before. This is the first one that I made, and I think I might make a third because I like it so much. I like both of the ones I've made so much. It is a contiguous shoulder shaping, which I like very much, and it is one of the other kind of distinct features of this design is there's no ribbing. It's just a stockinette double folded kind of half mock neck, which I have come to discover that a half mock neck double folded type of situation is definitely my favorite neckline. This one is a little unique because it's not ribbed, it is just done in stockinette, and I like the look. It's a clean, smooth look, and it's the type of style where, yeah, it's not at all tight to your neck, but it does go up a little bit. So anyways, I love this jumper. The other modification I made on this one is because I was trying to replicate sort of a commercial sweatshirt, I guess. I have a couple of commercial sweatshirts and they tend to kind of go in a little at the waist, cinch in, and then have sort of a band. And I wanted that look. I didn't want a straight down sort of line. So I did some rapid decreasing at the bottom of the body, and then I did the rib a little tighter. So when you wear it, it just kind of naturally hangs like that, which is something that I like. And the yarn that I used for this one is Cascade 220 and Sesia Vivienne. So Cascade 220, it's the non-superwash version. The color was 8555 black. I used less than 5 skeins, and it's just a nice 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And then I used Sesia Vivienne, which is a mohair silk, a classic one. We carry it here. The color is 67 black. And yeah, held them together. I think for this pattern, it's supposed to be more of a 4-ply held with a mohair, if I remember correctly. Let me click on the pattern. Oh no, it says lace plus DK, but it is on a 4.5 millimeter needle, and it's a 20 stitch gauge. So to me, I don't know. The other Lala sweater that I made, I just used a 4-ply plus a mohair, and I also love that one, but it's more of a drapey fabric. It's more of a standard fabric, honestly. This is more of a dense fabric. However, I really like it, and it feels like the kind of thing that will last forever. You know, I feel very comfortable chucking it around and not worrying about it at all. It's very durable, but still super soft. So I absolutely love this sweater. That's probably enough about it, but I love it. Okay, before we get into the knitting, I do just want to briefly announce that my Black Cat Favorite Socks pattern has just been released today, which I'm very excited about. If you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, I think I started showing off some of my Black Cat Favorite Socks a year ago. I realized recently that I've been doing this channel for just over a whole year now, which is crazy, and I have been talking about and knitting my vanilla sock pattern since then and before then. So I've mentioned a little bit before, this pattern was a long time in the making. This pattern is basically the culmination of my 5 or so years of sock knitting. I have knit top down, I've knit toe up, I've knit heel flaps and gussets, I've knit fleegle heels, I've knit fish lips kiss heels, afterthought heels, loads of different types of heels. I've knit on different needle sizes at different gauges. All that to say, I sort of, with all of that sock knitting experience, I figured out what is the perfect fit for me and also just my preferred method. And so this pattern is just a vanilla pattern, but it is the recipe that is my absolute favorite for a good fit. So I want to say just a few brief things about my pattern because it is a little bit unique. I would say that one of the issues I've had with a lot of sock patterns is they end up stretching out a bit and you get a little bit of a looser fit than you wanted. And so I wanted a good amount of negative ease. I will say I learned quite a few things from reading the Fish Lips Kiss Heel pattern. When you buy that pattern, it's actually 16 pages of information and it's very, very helpful information. And she talks about negative ease and stretching to fit and all the maths around it. So I'm grateful to that pattern for teaching me some things. And I learned that I like a higher amount of negative ease because then the sock will stretch to hug your foot nicely. So you'll notice with my sock pattern, if you decide to knit my sock pattern, that for the size you're going for, you're probably going to be casting on a smaller number of stitches than you might expect. But if you trust the pattern, it should work out because you'll end up with a sock that might look a little bit skinnier and a little bit longer. But then when you put it on your foot, the sideways stretch shortens the stitches a little bit. So it shortens the length, stretches the width just a little bit, and then hugs around your foot. In my opinion, the perfect fit. Your socks won't be sliding down. They won't be loose on the bottom. So yeah, so that's the reason for the amount of negative ease in my sock pattern and for the stitch count. And then a couple of other things to note. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. We actually, if it looks different, I was filming in the morning, but then we had to open up the shop and we just launched a bunch of yarns for our Socktober this morning. So we were packing orders and doing some things real quick. So I'm back now and I will try to pick up where I left off. So I know that I was talking about my new sock pattern that's just released today, Black Cat Favorite Socks. As I said, this was years of sock knitting and kind of creating my perfect sock. So I already mentioned about the ease, and then a couple of other things to note about my pattern. They are knit toe up, which is my preferred method, partly because it's adaptable to different yarn quantities. So whatever amount of yarn you have, you can just weigh out half and then make your first sock as long as you can. And I also just like toe up in general. I just like to get the heel and everything out of the way, and then I kind of feel that I have the freedom to relax and make the leg as long as I feel like. And so they're toe up, and they are a short row heel, which is, I like the look of a short row heel for a self-striping yarn. It's quite a clean look. It sort of mimics the look of a commercial sock with the seam at a diagonal around the heel. And I also find the instructions of a short row heel just very easy and quick. It's a lot fewer steps than you have with a heel flap and gusset, where there's picking up stitches and all that sort of stuff. It's not to bash a heel flap and gusset, but I just find a short row heel super quick and easy to do. And in my experience and from a lot of the knitters I've talked to, the only real issue I've heard about short row heels for some people is that they find it to be a little tight over the instep. And so one of the features of my pattern is that I've added shaping before and after the short row to help mitigate that problem. So now there's a nice bit of room for the instep. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Oh, my pattern has a stockinette foot, which again, I like a smooth foot, and then it's a 2x2 ribbed leg, which again makes it super stretchy on the leg, which is nice. However, this pattern is a vanilla recipe. You could absolutely take this recipe, take these stitch counts and these measurements and the heel instructions, and you could add a textured stitch. You could add, stripes. You could do different kinds of ribbing if you wanted to. There's a lot of ways you could customize these and use this pattern as a template. So anyway, I'm very excited after so long to finally be releasing my sock pattern. I've knit many pairs of these. It's my go-to recipe. I've got a few pairs here that I grabbed just to show you. This is the sample that I made in the largest size. Like I said, it does look quite long and maybe on the long skinny side, but like I was saying, it sort of stretches around your foot in a nice way. You've got the nice amount of room there in the instep and the stretchy ribbed leg. Here's one of the pairs I've made for myself. Same thing, stockinette foot, nice room in the heel, ribbed leg. Here's a pair I've made in hand spun yarn. Oops, I better turn that bell off. The shop's open. Yeah, so this one is done in hand spun. And do I have another one? Oh yeah, this one, well, I did this one in DK weight. So the pattern is written for 4-ply or fingering weight, which is a standard sock weight of yarn. However, like I said, it is a recipe, so I have knit a few pairs in a DK weight like this one, and I just fiddle with the stitch counts. So I believe this is a 40 stitch count for DK weight yarn. I think I used a 3.25 or a 3.5 millimeter needle to get the thicker gauge, but I've used the basic, recipe, I guess, from my pattern. So those are some of my many examples of my vanilla sock pattern. I had so many test knitters. I wanted this to be a well-tested pattern, so we had loads of test knitters. And just quick shout out to all my testers. You were all amazing. I'm so grateful that everyone wanted to test. So if you go on the Ravelry page, there should be already lots of project pages there. So you can see lots of different examples and see people's projects and what yarn they used and any notes that they made. So yep, the pattern is out. It's Black Cat Favorite Socks, and I'm just offering it at 25% off throughout the month of October for the purpose of celebrating Socktober. So there's no code needed. You can get that pattern 25% off throughout October on Ravelry, and we'll also add it onto our website here as well. And yeah, that's my exciting news. I think I've mentioned before, at this stage in my life, being a yarn shop owner, I only put out patterns when I can. I just end up having limited time, but I believe this is the first pattern I've put out for the entire year of 2025. This year has gone by quick. I've had lots of patterns in my brain. I've had lots of patterns on my needles, but this is the first one to actually make it out into the world this year. So very excited about that. Okay, let's move on to my knitting. So I have 4 finished objects, as I said. My first one is the Isla shawl, which is a pattern by Bûches. So here it is. Very cute. You can just sort of tie it around like a little sort of bandana style or kerchief style. So yeah, I think I showed this as a whip last time. I made this in the Biches Bûches Le Petit Lambswool, which is a yarn that we started carrying this year. It is a beautiful woolen spun lambswool. It's a pretty light fingering weight, but it blooms quite nicely after you wash the item. And I just made this because I wanted to have a nice little shop sample to show off the yarn. They have a beautiful color range, and I used 3 colors for this shawl. Oh, it's on a 3.5 millimeter needle, and I used soft gold, red brown, and dark burgundy gray. And I used barely any yarn. I haven't weighed this yet. I think they say in the pattern you can make maybe 3 or 4 of these if you just have 1 ball each of the 3 colors. And it's knit in such a way where you start in the middle and you're increasing. So you could absolutely make this shawl bigger or smaller if you wanted to. So you could just keep repeating the stitch patterns if you want to make a bigger version of it, which I also think would be really lovely. It's very lightweight. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. Easy enough pattern to do. You quickly get a hold of the repeat. And it took me, I think, less than a week to knit this. So happy with this. This is a sample that will live in the shop for the time being, the Isla shawl. And that's my first finished object. Okay, my next finished object is a ranunculus. So this is my 9th ranunculus. You're about to also see my 8th ranunculus shortly. This is the one that I am knitting. Sorry, I haven't woven in my ends, so there's lots of ends, and I haven't blocked it yet. But this is the one that I am knitting for my auntie. She, I think, is going to love this. She likes white linen, and this is 100% linen yarn. So again, if I haven't talked about it enough, the pattern is the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, and this pattern is extremely adaptable. I've made now 9 of them in different weights of yarn, different needle sizes. It's very easy to adapt, in part because every size begins the same and you can choose your size as you go. I have a whole video about the Ranunculus. I talk all about it in there, so if you do want to know more, I'll put a link somewhere or a insert about that. But in the meantime, I used Erika Night Studio linen in the color Milk, and I used 5 skeins total, and I used a 4.5 and 5.5 millimeter needle. So 4.5 on the ribbing, 5.5 for the main needle. And I'm pretty sure I increased according to the smallest size, but I didn't even write it down because I just make these up as I go. I think I was doing the smallest size and then I added a few extra increases. I just kind of increase it until it looks like it'll fit nicely. Sorry, I'm not super scientific about my knitting, but yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. It's just according to pattern for the most part. I mean, the yoke is according to pattern in terms of all the texture stitches. I did change the neckline like I normally do, where I did a standard cast on, or I think a twisted German cast on, and then I did the smaller needle size and just a plain 1x1 ribbing for the neck. So I've knit 9 of these. I've never done the cast on in the pattern, and I've also never done, or maybe I have done the twisted rib once or twice, but I generally prefer regular rib over twisted rib, so I've done that here. And we've ended up with 3/4 length sleeves. So I thought maybe I could get long sleeves out of this, but it became clear I was going to run out of yarn. So I used just about every last drop of this yarn, and we've got very nice 3/4 length sleeves. And yeah, haven't blocked it like I said, but sorry, that's the phone. It's a busy shop day, but I have to film today because it's the only time I have time. The other modification I did was I just did a plain bottom hem. So no ribbing, no I-cord, nothing. I just wanted a plain, clean edge. I thought that that look would suit my auntie. Just feels like a kind of light, loose, summery, flowy vibe. So it's just a raw edge. And I just did a standard cast on, but I did it quite loosely. So I didn't want to do any of the stretchy cast on methods because sometimes they give it a different look. I really just wanted that clean edge. So I just did the regular cast on and I just held my yarns a little bit loosely. But that's it. That is my 9th ranunculus. That is for my auntie. Took about a month or so knitting it on and off, but you know, pretty quick and easy with the big needle size. And I just need to weave in the ends and block it and get it over to my auntie. Okay, I may as well show you my next ranunculus as well because we were just talking about the ranunculus. So this is another finished object, my 8th ranunculus. And oh, this one is so soft. So same pattern info, I won't repeat all that. And I've done similar modifications. On this one, I actually used a 4mm for the rib, 5mm for all of the texture and yarn overs and stuff. Then I moved to a 6mm for the remainder of the arms and the body. So this is in the Cardiff Cashmere Prime. I've talked about it before. This is the label, Cardiff Prime. It is a beautiful brushed cashmere and silk. So it's fluffy like mohair yarns, but it's cashmere instead of mohair. It's incredibly soft. And if you've watched my previous episodes, you'll recall I was trying to see if I could knit a whole garment with just 4 balls of this yarn, because you get 300 meters per ball. So with the looser gauge, I thought I could do it, and I have done it. And again, this is 3/4 length sleeves and a bit of a cropped body. I haven't blocked it yet, so I will try to block it as soon as I can and get a proper photo to really show it off properly, because it is quite gorgeous. But I'll just show you now. I held 2 strands together throughout, and here it is. Oh, I can't believe how soft it is. It's like a cloud, and I mean the whole entire garment weighs less than 100 grams. So it's super lightweight, super, super soft. I hope it's showing off nicely. It'll obviously look even better when it's blocked. So I've got to block it, I've got to weave in the ends, and then actually try it on and take a proper photo. But I am absolutely chuffed with this. I really wanted to demonstrate that you can use a luxury yarn and make a garment and not have it be insanely expensive. So this is just 4 balls of Cardiff Prime. The color I used is Buthan. And the amount of yarn that I have left over is this much. So I was weighing it for the first sleeve to try to match the second sleeve, and I actually had more left over than I expected to. I'll weigh that and find out exactly how much, but I have that much left of these 2 little balls. So not too bad. And I'm just so impressed that I could make a whole garment out of the 4 balls of Cardiff. So, I mean, if you wanted to make something like this and you wanted longer sleeves and a bit of a longer body, I think you could comfortably still do it in 6 balls of the Prime, and it would be absolutely lovely. Light as a feather, soft as a cloud. Okay, I won't waffle on, but that is my 8th ranunculus. Really, really pleased with it. Highly recommend this yarn. It's gorgeous. It would also be super lovely holding 1 strand of the Prime together with another yarn, similar to what people do with the mohair yarns. I wanted to just really see what it was like on its own, and it is beautiful on its own. It would also be lovely held with something else. But yeah, that's my next finished object, and looking forward to blocking it and actually wearing it and kind of showing a bit better maybe next time. Okay, and my final finished object, these are my August socks. So as you know, I'm casting on a pair of socks each month this year. And in August, I really wanted a super thick pair of socks. I like to wear socks at home in the evening, and I tend to get quite cold feet in the evening, so I just was craving. I was wearing a pair of hand knit socks, and then I was wearing a pair of hand knit slippers over my socks, and I thought, I just need a really thick pair of hand knit socks. So I used this 8-ply Union Fibre, Union Fibre BFL 8-ply. The color is Starry Night, and it's 100% blue faced Leicester wool. And I held it together with the Zauberball Crazy. We carry these here at the shop, which is a standard sock weight. The color is 2248 Zimtschnecke, which I think means cinnamon bun. Someone told me that in my last video. Thank you. Cinnamon bun, I think, is the English name for it. And I held 1 strand of each of these together. And again, I used essentially my vanilla sock recipe, but I applied it to a thicker gauge. So I used a 3.5 millimeter needle. Sorry, a 3.75 millimeter needle. And then I think my final stitch count was 36 stitches for the foot. And then I left 40 stitches on for the leg, just to have a loose leg that I thought you could even fold it over, so it's a bit of a slipper sock. But these are them. I should have grabbed a sock blocker. These are the socks. There's 1 sock. I made them quite long. 1 sock. I'll just put them on my hands. 1 sock and 2 socks. So as always with the Zauberball Crazies, you normally get sort of sisters but not twins in terms of the color placement, but I'm very happy with these. I just like the subtlety of the color change, since you've got the main sort of more neutral, not neutral, the main more solid color held together with the Zauberball. So I really like them. They're more or less, you know, they're more subtle, but you still get that really nice colorful look. So I've just done 2x2 ribs on the top of the foot for these ones and stockinette on the bottom, and then 2x2 ribs for the whole of the leg. And like I say, my plan is to give them a big fold and essentially treat them like slipper socks. I know they look funny because of the ribbing, but they're big enough, trust me. And obviously I haven't woven in my ends yet. I've got some weaving in to catch up on, but those are my August socks. They're done. They were pretty quick, obviously, with the thicker gauge. And yeah, happy to have another pair of socks done, and happy to, I've got to weave the ends in because I actually really want to wear these. So I'll do that maybe tonight. But that is my last finished object. And in terms of what I've been working on, I must confess that most of my knitting time has gone to my 2 secret projects that I've mentioned before. These are both Advent related design projects, so they're completely secret. I can't show them or talk about them, but I've been knitting a lot on them. So I've made a lot of progress, and that's where a lot of my knitting time has gone, which is part of why I don't have a ton of progress on my other whips. I have just a couple of things I've made progress on. I'll show you them. And then I have one cheeky new cast on that I did yesterday, totally impulsively. I'll show you that. So this is my Zipper Sweater Light by PetiteKnit. Love this project. This one just gets a little work here and there. It's in the plain, easy stockinette phase. And so I've made a little bit of progress, but it's not going to look dramatically different than last time. So this is the zipper sweater. So you start with the collar, which is really long and double folded and ribbed. Then I did all that bit, split for the sleeves, and I've made a fair bit of progress underneath on the body. And you can just see, I love how these colors are looking. So the yarns I'm using are both from Yarnfloozy, Katrine, who's a local dyer here, and she works at the shop. She's in the other room right now while I'm filming. I've got her Machinist base and her Mohair base, and they are both in the color Galaxy. So I've always loved this color, and I am very much looking forward to finally having a garment in this yarn. I hope you can see the subtle gold speckles in there. I just think it's so pretty. So just working away on the body when I have time and when I need something easy. And before you know it, that'll be done, and it'll be on to the sleeves. So that's my Zipper Sweater Light progress. I guess I haven't really made meaningful progress on any other whips, to be honest. I just had a look. So I'll just show you my new cast on from yesterday. So we just got a new yarn in the shop recently, which I'm very excited about. The brand is called Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales, and we got in 2 of their very beautiful bases. These are really lovely, tweedy, 100% wool. It's definitely a woolly wool, yeah, just tweed yarn. And we got a 4-ply version and a worsted weight version. The worsted, I think, leans Aran weight as well. We'll see. I'm testing it out on this project. So the yarn, this is what the tags look like. So this is the worsted weight. So it's Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales. This one is called Bûches, and it is the color 3792, which is called Carrageen. We just got the yarn in recently. We have a sample knitter who's knitting up a sample in the Darny, which is the fingering weight. She's making us a beautiful vest, and I wanted to also make a sample in the Bûches. So that's why I just suddenly, impulsively made a cast on. And I'm making the Felix pullover by Amy Christoffers. I'll insert a photo. I've made the cardigan version before. It's on a loose needle. It's on a 6mm needle. And it's a very easy pattern to knit. So I know it'll go very quickly. which is why I just sort of went for it. And I'm gonna make the smallest size, which means I calculated that I only need 3 skeins of this yarn, which is really good. So this is the yarn. So it just has the most beautiful tweedy flecks in it. One note about this yarn before I show you the project. It is sold in the oil, so it hasn't gone through the washing process that yarns normally go through after being spun. And so what that means is that it feels a little rougher here, and you can kind of feel the oil a little bit, but you can wash it before you knit with it if you want to. I'm just knitting with it straight, which is fine. Then once you wash your finished item, the yarn is going to bloom in a really nice way, and it softens quite a bit. So we have a swatch that we've made that's in the shop, and you can feel how much the yarn softens after washing it. So if you buy this yarn from us and you think it feels a little on the rough side, bear that in mind about it being in the oil, that it will soften quite a lot and bloom after washing. So that was my yarn, my carrageen color, I guess. And I cast on the Amy pullover, Felix pullover by Amy Christoffers. So this is my progress so far. I mean, I just cast on yesterday, so like I said, it's super quick. I haven't even put that much time into it yet, and I'm like halfway down the yoke. So there it is. 5mm on the neck, 6mm on the body. I accidentally cast on 10 fewer stitches than I was supposed to, and I didn't notice until after the rib. So I just added them in after the rib because I didn't want to rip out the ribbing, and I like a tighter neck anyway, so I know that I'll be happy with this. And the main feature of this pattern is this cute little details that show up on the raglan increases. And it's very clever because these are the detail is created with yarn overs, and yarn overs are increases. So the lace pattern and the increases are the same thing. So in the process of creating your lace, you are also increasing at the same time, if that makes sense. So there's a bit of short rows in the back, and then yeah, that's the jumper. So I definitely want to make this cropped. I want it to be a bit more fitted, which is why I'm making the smallest size. And I might even have it go in a little at the waist. I'm kind of picturing this as something that would be cute to wear with a skirt, so I want it to have a higher waist. But yeah, totally cheeky cast on. I didn't need to cast on a new thing, but I just wanted kind of an instant gratification knit. And my excuse was that we need a new sample in this yarn. So yeah, the tweed is just beautiful. And the Bûches especially, they both have gorgeous colors. The Bûches has even more colors. I think we have 30 total in our shop, and they're just the most beautiful, nuanced, interesting colors. There were so many colors that I would personally make myself a garment out of, so many that I want to wear and knit with. I started with this one, but I will certainly be wanting to knit more with this beautiful yarn. So that is my newest cast on, and yeah, that's kind of all I've got. I have a couple of projects, as always, in the background that haven't gotten a lot of attention this past couple weeks. I've got a couple socks waiting. Socktober starts, I think, well, I'll put this video out tomorrow, so Socktober will be starting tomorrow if you're watching this when it goes out. And that means sock knitting time. I still have to cast on my September socks, so I've saved it till the last minute. So I'll be casting on those. Then I'll be casting on, doing more sock knitting throughout the month of October. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye.